my background stems from being a former enlisted soldier, combat veteran. I went into the
Ah,
military after my basketball scholarship fell through. Turned down my academic scholarships because all I wanted to do was play college basketball. And as soon as I got to my unit, I immediately enrolled in college courses, continued to play sports. And as a result, one of my professors introduced me to the idea of going to West Point. And had no intention of going to the academy, but the opportunity was presented before me. And so I decided to put forth the paperwork. And then Operation Desert Shield came up, which we deployed, and then it became Desert Storm. And so I found myself at 19 walking the perimeter during Desert Storm. And I said, Lord, if you allow me to make it back, I'd never waste a day of my life. And to that end, that kind of put me on the glide path to all that I have done since then and continue to do with a very purpose-driven life. So at West Point, graduated degrees in engineering and sociology, and got introduced to the world of personal growth and development and entrepreneurship, and that forever changed my life. It was that experience that made me say, wait a minute, I never knew the power of the library. I never knew the power of picking up books and going to seminars and being around successful people. And so to that end, as I've spoken around the world since 96, I tell people, take over my West Point degree, engineering and sociology, take over my MBA from George Washington University, finance training from Georgetown. When I learned to pick up books and go to seminars and be around successful people, that's what laid the foundation for everything else I've done in my life. And so I'm unique in that I bring a real world practical application and understanding, because I've covered so many bases, from being an enlisted soldier to being a combat veteran to being a infantry officer, ranger, West Point grad, former CFO of an Inc. 500 fast growing company. On the entrepreneurial side, I've owned up, single largest real estate holding was a 40-unit apartment complex. I've owned a franchise. I've done things in different areas at the highest level in which people may investigate. So it allows me to provide some insights and leverage my ability to truly teach people how to think versus what to think. And that's really my unique selling proposition. My strength is based upon the same training that I did in teaching soldiers to go into battle around how to think versus what to think, knowing that if I got killed on the battlefield, the mission still has to take place. And so women are my primary audience. And that's because of my experience at 19 and knowing that life is not necessarily promised. When I had my first child, my daughter Nadia, 18 years ago, I committed to pouring into the lives of women such that if something ever happened to me, she would have role models that I would want her to follow. And so that's why I do what I do and how I do what I do. I address the financial danger that no one is talking about. I leverage my experience as someone that went into the financial services after making my first million, and doing so because I was actually looking for an advisor, but because of how they answered my questions, it made me wonder if they were just salespeople. So that's what took me into the financial services after I saw that I had reached my goal of being able to be financially able to pick up and be a dad that was around, full time. And so the season of life I'm in now is, my daughter graduated from high school in June. She's in college. My son is 17, so he's got another year. So that time frame that I set aside to be able to do those things I desire to do, that true exit plan, I've executed. And now I'm back in the mode of saying, okay, let me go out here and be intentional about sharing this life is rich message, which means I live in fullness every day, LIFE, because I realize I am Christ's heir, rich, RICH. And I just live full time. So I love connecting with people and seeing how I can tap into my background and my experiences to help people with things from decision making, critical thinking, leadership, and doing so and making things plain. Once again, how to think versus what to think.